Look at these crazies. Junior with his brick, Lilo swimming, Stick generally rolling in something. Oh, that's not my dog, that's someone else's. And then Rex, good old faithful. So I just wanted to do a little video. I'm going to do 2 or 3 little videos just about certain subjects. So the first subject I'm going to look at is qualified dog trainers. So one of the things that people will say negatively towards or derogatory towards balance trainers or dog trainers is generally dog trainers that can get you results is, oh, they're not even a qualified dog trainer. This dog trainer has no qualifications. And they're generally referring to, they're generally referring to like trying to have a dig at like remote collars, generally prong collars, slip leads, what else? Anything that can be used as an aversive, well, they think, because anything can be used as an aversive. Any tool can be used for reinforcement, and any tool can be used for punishment. So back to qualifications. So they talk a lot about qualifications and how, oh well, get a qualified behaviourist or trainer. And the funny thing is, because there's no, as far as I'm aware, actually anywhere in the world, but certainly in the UK, there is no governing body from, say in Scotland, the SQA, the Scottish Qualifications Authority. There are no qualifications that you can get as a dog trainer. The only qualifications that you can get are within each organisation that you can be a part of. So if you are part of the Kennel Club, for example, you can do their qualifications that they have in-house, which is fine. And I'm assuming what you have to do is you have to, possess or show a certain level of skill or results with regards to whatever they're looking for that qualification. And whether that's good or bad is a different conversation, but that would be their qualification. You can do the same with the IACP, the International Association of Canine Professionals, for example. And that again is all in-house. It is all within that organisation, and it is tested and assessed by those that are deemed appropriate or leaders within a certain field. But it's still all within in-house. So for me, I am a professional, which is the highest level you can get, and a member of the International Association of Canine Professionals. As well as that, I'm also a professional and president of the Association of Balanced Dog Trainers. But Association of Balanced Dog Trainers is exactly the same. You can be an associate member, if you want to call that a qualification, or you can be a professional member of that organisation. And to be a professional member, you need to prove and show. You have a checklist, and you have a test effectively that you need to pass to be a professional member. So whether you have to be, working in a professional capacity as it's to do with dogs, whether it's a dog walker, dog groomer, dog trainer, home boarder, kennels, whatever it is, you need to show that you've been doing that for 5 years, for example. You need to give references, you need to give video evidence. This is then what qualifies you to hold that certain qualification, if you like, within that organisation. So this is one of the biggest and another one, for example, could be, so I'm not talking about whether certain qualifications are good or bad, but just other qualifications would be Victoria Stilwell Academy. You can do Victoria Stilwell Academy and gain certain qualifications within that academy that is governed within that organisation. But then to say, oh well, don't go to this trainer, generally say a balance trainer, because it's only balance trainers that get attacked. It's not your purely positive, force-free people. Ironically, force-free and purely positive, they're the ones that do all the attacking. And talk about qualified trainers. It's really, but those people are in the same boat. They don't have any qualifications either. The only difference that there can be is that you can go to university and study some sort of animal behaviour, etc. You can do that. That would be coming under a qualification. But also, just because you have that qualification doesn't mean that you have any practical knowledge, or that you're any good as a dog trainer, or even a dog walker, or working in kennels, or a home boarder, or whatever it is, a groomer. So the reality is, when you have someone that says, only go to a qualified trainer, but they would then say, well, I've got my gold award from the kennel club, and you're like, yeah, but that's just, you have to pass a certain standard, if you like. You should, and again, I'm not getting into whether it's good or not, that standard and what that really means, but it's just as much a qualification as the IACP or the ABDT or the Victoria Stilwell Academy or whoever saying that they have a qualification. What the reality is that you've got to look at is go a bit deeper. So when someone says about qualifications, I had it when I remember I was on BBC Radio Scotland last year, the year before, and there was discussing remote collars, and then there was somebody that came on. I was obviously for remote collars, and there was somebody that came on as against remote collars. Now, what always comes up is, okay, Mr. Kirk. Now, this other person was an absolute tube, but and what qualifies you? What qualifications do you have, Mr. Kirk? And I'm like, well, I haven't been to university or college to do with dog welfare or dog behaviour, and I haven't done that. Never professed to do that. But what qualifies me to talk about remote collars? And at the same time, I can't remember this other woman's name that was on, who was just a joke, is what qualifies you, other person, to talk about these tools? So when you have somebody, in this case, slagging remote collars or prong collars, for example, they're the two main ones, or slip leads, you've got to say, well, what qualifies them to even have an educated opinion on that? Everybody can have an opinion about anything, and that's fine, but an actual educated opinion, so based on knowledge and evidence and practical that they've done. And the reality is, you're going to really not find anybody that has that actual knowledge and experience with these tools that is going, oh, they're terrible, they shock, they're abusive, they're only there to punish and to cause abuse, and just this other absolute nonsense. It's literally like people without driving licenses telling you how to drive. That's what these people are like when they're talking about these tools, because you've got to say, well, what qualifies you, person that is against, say, a remote collar, what qualifies you to talk about remote collars? Because what practical experience have you had? What actually learning have you had with in particular with that tool? So it'd be the same as somebody was having a go about a clicker and clicker training, and there's very, very many ways you can do clicker training, but for someone to have an opinion, or opinion worth listening to, is, well, what practical experience have you had, and how have you been taught about clicker, and then maybe I'll take your opinion into account. And that should be the same said for prong collars, or slip leads, or harnesses, or halties, or food, or marker training, or IPO, or agility, or fly ball, or there's lots and lots and lots of different ways of training, and there's many different tools. But that's what you've got to look at as well. What qualifies you? Should I really take your opinion? Should it really? Should I take your opinion seriously? Should actually I take that into account for when I'm deciding what type of training I'm doing? And what you'll always see is those that are negative and nasty and against tools are those that have no knowledge of those tools. They are not qualified to talk about those tools because they haven't got any practical or knowledge with regards to those tools. They haven't actually been out and worked with these tools and seen how they work. They've just got a very closed mind and go crazy about certain tools. But that's really what you've got to look at, and it's so annoying, because thinking back from when I was on the radio, and she said, what qualifications? I was like, I don't have any qualifications that way. But when are these people going to be held to account? It's like, what qualifies you to even talk about certain issues with dogs, because you never deal with them, you avoid them. What qualifies you to talk about certain tools because you've never used them. So what actually qualifies you to even have an educated opinion on that? That's the reality. Everybody is absolutely entitled to their own opinion and to free speech, and I'm totally all for that. That's totally fine. That enables me to talk to you right now. But whether that opinion is based on any knowledge or whether I'm going to take that opinion into my bank of, yeah, I'm gonna listen to that opinion. I'm gonna value that opinion. That's not really going to happen. I'm not going to really value that opinion. If it's somebody who's talking about, say, driving, and they've never driven before, and they're telling everybody else how to drive, I'm like, well, you have your opinion, but I'm not going to really value your opinion. Or here's somebody that, I don't know, has owned BMWs for 30 years, and they're talking about the car, the different models of BMW that they've had, and I'm thinking about getting a BMW. I'm going to maybe value their opinion over the anti-BMW person down the road that's never had one, who's just saying how terrible they are. So, okay, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but you've got to decide for yourself, saying, should I value that opinion? Should their opinion really matter to me? Should I listen to this opinion? Yes, they're entitled to it, but is it actually based on any qualifies them to have that opinion? If their opinion is based on actual practical everyday experience, fine, absolutely. And not just that, in this day and age, they have to be able to show it. So they can show you in videos, for example. It's very, very simple. Any decent dog trainer will have videos for you to see, not just, oh, here's this study written down. No, actually show me videos, show me actual real life results of dogs that went from point A to point B, that were like mine and now are good. Or you want to actually see that. You owe it to yourself to do that, to ask for those results. So just think about that. Qualifications. You're really going to want to have somebody who's got the practical experience and who can actually show you the results and every step of the way on how to do that, whether it's actually training in general or whether it's talking about specific tools. But really think about that.